You remember that thing we used to do as kids where you go, actually, you can give yourself affection. I think, you know how I have this habit? I have this habit of always high-fiving myself in the mirror. I send myself into the day, go get a Mel. That's a form of affection. You can show yourself love through words and through gifts and through actions, because love is a verb. And that's the most important thing to think about when you think about practicing self-love and developing habits around self-love. So love is a verb. What are the actions and habits and thoughts that you would have when you think about how you treat or speak to somebody you love? Self-love is about giving yourself all the things that you freely give to the people that you love. And what's so awesome is that when you learn and start practicing how to love yourself, it expands your capacity to love other people more deeply, because you can't give other people something that you don't give to yourself. And I know you're like, whoa, I love other people, but you don't truly love other people if you can't love yourself, because there's a part of you that doesn't feel worthy. And so you got to practice this stuff. And it's everything. Here are some ways that I practice. First of all, if someone you loved were struggling, what would you recommend they do in terms of how they take care of themselves? First of all, you got to get a good night's sleep. That's a form of self-love. Put good food in your body. That's a form of self-love. Take time for yourself every day. That's a form of self-love. Moving your body and exercising. That's a form of self-love. The biggest form of self-love for me is not criticizing myself. So when I catch myself criticizing myself, trashing myself, beating myself up, I kick that noise and garbage out of my head, and I replace it with something that I would say to somebody that I love. Instead of focusing on the things that are going wrong, I kick that thought out of my mind and I focus on the things that are going right. Another form of self-love for me is I'm constantly soothing and reassuring myself. Mel, hey, I know it's challenging right now, but this is preparing you for something. Mel, I know you're nervous, but you got this. You can face this. And notice I'm using my name, Mel. Study after study has come out that when you talk to yourself and use your own name, it has a much deeper impact on you. You have the experience of almost having someone else be saying it. It lands deeper. And it's also through gifts. I also give myself the gift of buying flowers every time I go to the grocery store. I started doing that a few years ago. I love flowers. I was always waiting for somebody else to give them to me. And it dawned on me, why the hell don't I just buy them for myself? And so I do. And you'd be surprised. $3, $4, $5, you can always find a small little bouquet at a grocery store. Stick it on your desk. It's a reminder that you love yourself. Remember, love is a verb. Just treat yourself how you would treat somebody that you love, and practice it, and you'll get better and better at it.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because chances are you are the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Mel Robbins, and my take on her top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, infuse your days with celebration.
I am in the middle of working on my next book. It's called The High Five Habit. I believe with all of my heart and being that every man, woman, child, person, grandparent, everybody should infuse their days with habits of celebration and self-confidence. And the fastest and easiest and most science-backed way to quickly start to change how you see yourself is by adopting a simple habit of high-fiving your reflection in the mirror every single morning. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Are you serious, Mel Robbins? That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I know. I know it sounds dumb. But the reason why your first instinct when you think about waking up, whether you're in your robe or your underwear, or your PJs or your birthday suit, and walking into that bathroom and having a moment with yourself and raising your hand and high-fiving yourself is because your self-confidence is in the gutter. You believe some garbage about yourself. You think you're a bad person, or you're unworthy, or you're ugly, or nobody likes you. Or how about this one? This was the story of my life. I have f***ed up my life so badly, I might as well just flush it down the toilet. You have some narrative in your mind that is so negative that when you look in the mirror, you see somebody worth trashing. You see what's wrong. You pick apart your appearance. And I want to reverse that, because here's the deal about self-confidence. Self-confidence begins with you. You realize the word self is in there, right? I can't give you confidence. I can give you a little boost. I can give you tools. I can encourage you. But confidence is forged in fire. It's something that's within you. And here's the thing I want you to realize about confidence. You are a confident person. That's why you miss feeling that way. You can only miss what you know. You've just been blocked from the feeling of it. And wherever you are right now in your life, I'm telling you, confidence is in there. You just got to figure out how to tap into it. And you've been building confidence all along, by the way. Every time that you have fallen on your face, or you've tried something and failed, or you've gone out and thought you found the love of your life, and then your heart's broken, and then you pick yourself up again, and then you dust yourself. You're building confidence the entire time, because confidence is not built on the high days. Confidence is built on the low ones. Confidence is built when you are struggling. Because when you see yourself go for something and fall, when you see yourself try and get knocked down, when you see yourself stand back up after getting abused or traumatized or discriminated against and moving ahead, you are building this reserve within yourself where you know you can rely on yourself. You know you can face hard things and you can keep moving forward. You know you have your own back. So it's in there. Your life has been helping you build it. Now you got to just dig in and tap into it and use it to shut that critic up in your head. So the way you're going to do that is every morning, I'm not kidding, you're going to raise your hand in the mirror and high five yourself. Look at how many people are doing this. You're not the only one. For 5 mornings in a row, I want you to high five yourself. And when you do this, I want you to use the hashtag high five challenge. You know what's happening when you raise your hand up in the mirror? You are taking the lifetime positive association that you have with cheering for other people, believing in other people, celebrating other people, saying, let's go to other people. And you are marrying that positive association with your reflection.
Rule number 3, be in it.
We are pulling into Boston College for our daughter's graduation from college. It feels like we just dropped her off here 4 years ago. A week ago. It is insane how fast time goes, isn't it, Chris?
It is almost disturbing.
It's disturbing. And so I always get really weepy and emotional on big milestone days because you become so present to how quickly your life is passing you by. And the only advice that I have for myself or anybody else in this moment is just be in it. Be present for it all. The ups, the downs, every day, just be in it. Because you are going to blink your eyes and your life's going to be over. I mean, literally, I don't mean to be like morose about it, but it's true. And we spend so much energy wishing things would pass, wishing that something would be over, wishing that this moment would change. And I'm telling you right now, your life is the greatest school you will ever attend. Every day is teaching you something. Every day is a lesson. And the lesson right now is that we should have showed up earlier because the traffic is very big.
Rule number 4, slow down.
For years, when I felt stressed out, when I felt overwhelmed, when I started to feel burnt out, I would literally react to the feeling of being stressed and overwhelmed by stepping on the accelerator. I used to believe that if I just ran faster, if I just moved quickly, I would be able to outrun the overwhelm that I was feeling. And what I have found time and time and time again is that you cannot gain control by speeding up. The way that you gain control of anything in life is by slowing down. And whenever I feel like my own life is like that car where the wheel's shaking and I'm going and I feel like I'm going to lose control and my instinct is to step on the gas and go, 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 I have taught myself in those moments to stop. Get off social media, cancel meetings, take a couple personal days, put your phone away, get out in nature if you can, take a deep breath, start your morning slowly, because it's in those moments where you slow everything down that you really gain control again, because you start to get located in your body. Bottom line, if you feel overwhelmed, do what I did. Do not step on the accelerator. Take the off-ramp. Slow down. Take a day off. You will learn when you take your foot off the gas and you allow yourself to coast to a stop that the world will go on. You need a break. And when you stop racing around and running and dealing with the stress and blah, 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 you will literally see in the calm what the path forward is.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, the science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action for the habit to stick. That's what I want for you. So I've designed a custom free program where I'm going to send you an unlisted video for the next 254 days to shift your confidence and belief forward. The link to join is in the description below.
You're always going to need to push yourself. You're always going to need to parent yourself. If you didn't give a shit what anybody else thought, what's the thing you would love to be doing with your life? The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that you need in order to learn new behavior, in order to do something difficult, in order to do something uncertain, in order to do strategic thinking.
Rule number 5, bring passion and conviction.
I wanted to make this video because I know in some area of your life, you are wanting to start something, you're wanting to put yourself out there more, and you are holding yourself back. And one place that I see this playing out all the time is the fact that so many people, probably you, are self-conscious and nervous about putting videos online. You're self-conscious and nervous about talking about your business or sharing the breakthroughs that you're having or just showing up in a bigger, bolder, more self-expressed way because, heck, it makes your life more fun when you do. And so you have this deep yearning to be doing more, and then I know exactly what happens to you. You look at the number of people that follow you. You then say, who the hell am I to say that? You then go, nobody's going to watch it anyway. And I want to share with you brand new research that blows that lame excuse, although normal excuse, right out of the water. It was published literally this month from Ohio State University, and it proves that when it comes to video content, the video content that people find compelling has nothing to do with the number of views that it has. It has to do with the person and the message that's being communicated. To be compelling, to make an impact, to be influential, because I know everybody wants to raise their influence and their visibility and to show up in bigger ways. It is all about the message, and you're in control of that. Do you communicate with passion? Do you have conviction about what you're talking about? You could be talking about, I don't know, whether you like white cords or these like black cords with this end, or whether you like this kind of end or this end, or where you like this cap, or whether you, I love to drink this way because I have a big nose, and then this way. And I'm telling you, you don't have to have this thing on. You could literally talk about anything. And if you bring passion and you bring conviction to what you're talking about, people will pay attention. That's what real influence is. It's the ability to show up in ways and have conviction and passion about the things that you believe in. Whether you're talking about a water bottle cap or you're talking about how to be healthier, happier, or more effective in your life. So enough with the excuses, Enough with worrying about how many followers you have or whether or not Aunt Sue is gonna like the video or not or what people are gonna think. The only thing that matters is the conviction and passion that you communicate with. And of course, getting started. So based on the research, get started, put that video out.
Rule number 6, be honest with yourself.
You gotta be honest with yourself. If there are things about your appearance that are within your control, whether it is the shape that you're in, whether it's the health choices that you're making, whether it's how you take care of yourself in terms of self-love, and you're not taking action in those areas, the lack of action says to your brain, you don't care about yourself. And so what I want you to do is pick one thing, one behavior that you could do every day. The high five's one of them, pick another one. And I want you to practice doing it. And it's a behavior. If you think about the person that you want to become, what's that person do every day that you don't do right now? And when you start to do the thing that the person you want to become is doing, you leverage something called behavioral activation therapy. And that is a whole body of research that says when you act like the person you want to become, it's the most powerful way to change a habit. It's even better therapy than talk therapy because the action proves to your brain that you're becoming that person. You're seeing the change through the action, and so then the brain catches up and starts to relate to you like a person that's confident, or a person who adores their appearance, or a person that celebrates themselves exactly as they are.
Rule number 7, reflect intentionally.
We moved to Vermont. I got a brand new primary care doctor. And I thought he said something really interesting. He's this great guy. He settled here because his wife's family is from Vermont. And so he's now lived here for 40 years. And at the end of my first appointment with him, he said a really interesting thing to me. He kind of chuckled because, of course, I'm very entertaining and bubbly and all this stuff. And he said, it's going to be really fun to watch what happens to you. And I'm like, what doctor says that to somebody? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, I'll tell you, Mel. In the years that I've been practicing as a primary care doctor in southern Vermont, I have seen so many people move to Vermont. They're seeking a quieter lifestyle. They're seeking a change, a new chapter. And what I find is, what you're actually seeking is a safe haven and you're running away from your problems, a funny thing happens. Your problems always go with you. And when you move somewhere very quiet, the solitude just magnifies the that you were trying to get away from. And so if you're starting a new chapter because you're excited and you're reinventing yourself, that's fabulous. Still take time to complete the last chapter that you were in. So you step into the new chapter with all of the wisdom and the gratitude and the learning and the growth that you gained. If you are starting a new chapter, as so many of us do, because we are running away from the old us, we're running away from a bad relationship, we're closing the door on something that wasn't working, you better make sure you take the time to think through and journal about this last chapter, who you've been, the habits you no longer want to repeat, the mistakes that you made, what you've learned, what you're running from, and more importantly, what changes you're going to make and how this new chapter is going to support you in doing it and in becoming the person that you're meant to be. Without that intentional moment of reflection and without that intentional moment where you're going to list out the behaviors and thinking patterns and habits you're changing, my doctor's right. You're just going to take all that crap you're running from right into this new chapter.
Rule number 8, control your emotions.
I think I am engaged in emotional eating right now. It is 2:22 in the afternoon. The wheels are off today. I know why. The reason why is because I did not stick to my normal routine. And I've noticed since I did not stick to my routine, my day has sort of slid off the rails in terms of the decisions that I'm making. It's really random. Like I had my son's chicken nuggets for lunch, and there's half an apple that I ate. I have not finished the amount of water I normally drink. It is 2:23, and I made myself an ice cream sundae because, why the hell not? And so as I'm sitting here enjoying my ice cream sundae, I just thought to myself, God, am I emotionally eating right now? Oh my God, this is so good. If I really unpack what I'm feeling right now, it's raining, it's freezing. I am mentally in a creative block, and I'm going to get this tool that we use on the Mel Robbins show out. I call it the word wheel. So I'm going to show you the word wheel right now. Here's how you use a word wheel. The average person can only name 3 emotions: happy, sad, and angry. But our emotions are actually much deeper and more complex. And the secret to getting unstuck or untriggered or freed up in any situation is to find the words that describe what you are truly feeling. So I'm going to start with the core emotion of anger and fear and work out from there. And so as I look at the word wheel, I feel inadequate as a writer. I feel worried that I'm not going to have a creative breakthrough. I feel helpless. The big one is I feel inadequate as a writer. Whoa, big breakthrough. So I am feeding my inadequacy with an ice cream sundae. You know what's interesting? Is simply finding the word that I feel inadequate as a writer. And that makes me feel afraid that the book isn't going to be good, that it's not going to be as good as I want, it's not going to do as well, it's not going to get any accolades or good reviews, it's not going to make a difference in your life. As you identify the feeling, and for me it's inadequate, that sundae doesn't taste very good anymore. Because it wasn't a sundae that I was craving, it was reassurance and comfort from this deeper feeling that I was feeling. Wow, that's powerful stuff. Really powerful stuff. So if you are at a moment where you catch yourself emotionally eating, or you just feel untethered or numb, pull out the word wheel. You can find it at melrobbins.com. And I think you'll find it to be a really incredible tool that will help you locate what you're truly working through. And instead of reaching for an ice cream sundae, which honestly is going to now tank my mood because of all the sugar and make me feel lethargic. If you can identify the word, which for me is inadequate, inferior, worried, frustrated, you can let those feelings rise up, move through them, and then move on. Two hours later, and let me tell you the impact of having fed my feelings. First of all, I am totally bloated. So I realize that that's not big, but for me, my stomach is just like, because all that sugar and dairy that I just pounded down is now sitting here like a rock. And this is the problem with emotional eating, is you get caught in this cycle where you feed these feelings and then your body starts to tank and your mood tanks and your stomach gets bloated. And so then you start to make yourself wrong and feel ashamed and feel like a bad person because you did it. So how do you stop emotional eating? And what business do I have giving any of us advice given that I just did it? Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do tomorrow when I inevitably hit that creative block. Is emotional eating, you know that it's emotional if it's comes on suddenly, if you aren't just craving something, but you are reaching for something that is a treat or that's soothing. And before I do that tomorrow, when my writer's block inevitably happens again, I will take a deep breath and I will ask myself, what am I feeling? Why am I reaching for this food? Am I hungry? Or am I trying to soothe or comfort or distract myself? Because I was clearly trying to soothe and distract myself from the feelings that writer's block was bringing up. And now I need to get some gas X or something because I got to distract myself from the gas pains that I have from my emotional eating. But, honestly, the discomfort I'm feeling right now, that's not going to stop me from doing it tomorrow. The only thing that will stop this pattern is spotting the pattern and using the tools that I just gave you. Identify what you're feeling, ask you why it is you're reaching for this if you're not hungry, but you're trying to soothe, distract, or reward yourself. You're feeding some feeling. Recognize the feeling, put down the ice cream, go for a walk, choose something healthy, address the feeling. Don't reach for the food.
Rule number 9, put yourself first.
So there are 7.5 billion people on this incredible planet of ours. But do you know how many of them you're responsible for? Truly? 1. You see, while you're busy taking care of everybody else, who is it that's taking care of you? You were given one human being, one mind, one soul, one body, one life. We are so bananas focused about what people who know nothing about what's going on in your life think. And what happens is you can get so concerned about the opinions and the judgments of all these other people that you're taking care of and that you're being nice to, that you forget about the one person's opinion that actually matters, and that's yours. And when silencing yourself and being way more concerned about what everybody thinks becomes a pattern, you are holding yourself back. You don't go after your dreams because you're way too caught up in what everybody else is thinking. For every person that's got a side eye or an eye roll or an opinion about what you're doing, I promise you, when you make the decision to live your life for you, the right people will find you. Is this going to be easy to chart your own path, to hear what people have to say, but not let it define what you do next? It's going to take a little bit of practice, but once you make the decision to live your life for you, I promise you, everything will fall into place.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is get your sparkly sneakers.
My sparkly sneakers. This is a great story about a bunch of topics. It's a story about confidence. It's a story about being comfortable in your own skin. It's a story about being yourself, no matter where you are or what you're doing. And it's a story about the power of your unique self-expression. And your unique self-expression comes out and is amplified when you feel comfortable in your own skin. I got into the speaking business, 6 or 7 years ago. I had a TEDx talk that went crazy viral. That's what started the speaking business. And when I first got into the speaking business, I was really intimidated because I was new to it. And I wanted to do a very good job and I wanted to fit in. So I looked around at what all the top people in the industry of motivational speaking and speaking on the corporate circuit were doing. And I noticed that all the women were dressed in heels, wearing pencil skirts or beautiful dresses, the kind of thing that you might see a news anchor wearing, like a nice dress, heels. So I just wore what everybody else was wearing. Didn't even occur to me to wear something else because here I am trying to break into a new industry. So I look at everybody at the top, I copy what they're doing, and I am not comfortable in high heels. Yes, if my husband Chris and I are going out on date night, I can rock them like the best of them. But walking through a convention center in them, standing on a stage for an hour in a pair of heels while you're trying to hold in your stomach because you're being broadcast on a big screen and you're wearing a dress, it was the least comfortable outfit I could possibly wear, very self-conscious in it. I'm not that graceful in a pair of heels, so I sort of poo on a stage. But that's what I did for the first couple of years. So I was in Miami. This must have been probably 5 years ago. I was in Miami, and I had just gotten off stage, take off the heels, take off the dress, put on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. I got an hour to kill before I have to leave for the airport. I'm going to fly to Vegas because I've got a speech in Vegas the next morning. So I'm walking down Collins Ave in South Beach in Miami. And I walk past this store. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore. I loved this store. And there in the window were the most amazing high-top sneakers I had ever seen in my entire life. I was like a moth to the flame. Let me show you these bad boys because these are the originals. This right here, notice the gold shimmery sparkle and the confident blaze orange. I didn't own anything like this. I'd never seen anything like this. I immediately thought, whoa, this, I bet, is what like a Justin Bieber kind of wears. I mean, these are insanely cool. I went inside and they were pretty expensive. I'd never spent that kind of money. I wasn't a sneakerhead yet, but I thought, hey, I spend that kind of money on a pair of nice heels, so why not treat myself to a pair of sneakers, okay? So I get back to the hotel, I pack up, I hop the flight, I get to Vegas. Now, I wake up the next morning and I have a tech check, which is where you rehearse the speech and go through like all the technology rehearsals before the event starting. My tech check is at 7:30. The doors to the event open at 8, and I'm on stage at 8:30. And I had a red dress, my heels, or so I thought. So I crack open, that's what I was planning on wearing. I crack open the suitcase. There are no heels. I have left the heels in the hotel room back in Miami. All I have are the Birkenstocks that I wore on the plane and I wore out in Vegas last night, and my new Justin Bieber high top sneakers. And I have exactly 15 minutes to get to the tech rehearsal and nothing else is open. So Birkenstocks, Justin Bieber, I think we'll go with the Justin Bieber sparkly high tops. I slapped those puppies on. I walked from my hotel room all the way through the casino floor, past all the restaurants and the shops, to the convention center, which you know is like a 2-mile walk. I was so happy to be not only in my red dress, but more importantly, in my Justin Bieber sneakers, because it was super comfortable to walk there that way. I get to the backstage area, and for the first time in 2 years, something happened. And let me tell you what happened. One of the guys that was on the production crew turned and goes, cool sneakers. That was like the first time somebody in production had really acknowledged me for something other than the job in 2 years. So I was like, And as I started walking toward the backstage area, everybody I passed, cool kicks. Oh, those are cool. Oh, those are cool. And I'm like, this is wild. Nobody's ever complimented on like, this is, people are, and so I did the tech rehearsal, and then this was the moment of truth. When I walked out onto that stage, it was at the MGM Arena, and there were like 5,000 real estate agents in the audience. I was there to deliver a speech for RE/MAX. It was the first time I'd ever walked on a stage where I actually felt like myself. It was also the first time that I felt the audience kind of lean forward and go, oh, she seems kind of cool. But when you walk onto a stage in heels and a dress, you're like the authority. And you're on a stage and you're talking at people. There's something about walking onto a stage or walking through life and having something fun that you're wearing that makes you relatable and interesting and real. And from that moment forward, I have never not worn sparkly sneakers for work. I wore them every day on my daytime talk show. I'm embarrassed to tell you that I probably have 20 pairs of these. I love, this is my favorite, these are my favorite, well, these are my favorite because these are the originals, but I would say these are my second favorite because I like the low top and I love the blue. I love these, which have a big silver kind of thing. These are super comfortable. And I've got a bunch of these, and these did not even come with sparkles, so I literally bought Swarovski crystals or whatever the hell they're called and got a glue gun out and put them on myself. If you're looking for sparkly sneakers, there's all kinds of them out there these days. It's the coolest thing in the world. Bedazzled sneakers are a thing. Whether you go to DSW or Nordstrom's or Zappos or anywhere, you can find them. And so the moral of the story, the secret to confidence is being comfortable in your own skin.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through on your goals. 35%! That's not enough. That's not enough just to get motivated. Believe Nation, we're here. You're here. Today matters. You're an action taker. When you commit to a plan of action of when and how you're going to follow through, when you write it down, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you commit publicly to somebody else, it jumps to 95% chance. From 30-something% to 95% chance of you following through. Believe Nation, we need to make this happen. So question of the day, your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action specific for the next week. Put it down in the comments below, and I'm going to show on screen sometime next week to celebrate you.
So when you face a scary financial situation, and I have been there, I have been more than $800,000 in debt with liens on my house and a car that's about to be repossessed and a credit card and a banking card that had no money on it. I distinctly remember two very low moments. One being standing at the local grocery store knowing there was no money in the account and handing the card over and just praying in that moment that somehow there would be some technical glitch and it would go through. And when it didn't, I remember feeling the just, shame of standing there with a pile of groceries and people lined up behind me, and I had an excuse ready. I kind of cocked my head and looked kind of confused and was like, well, that's strange because it just worked at the gas station. That was a lie. And then I said, I will be right back. I'm going to go out to my car and get my other credit card. And I walked out of there, got in that car and drove away. And the other one was when our daughter was doing town soccer and we did not have the money to pay the $125 registration fee. And I was too embarrassed to email and tell the coach. And so we just pulled her. It's awful when you are broke, and it's awful when you can't pay your bills. And it is a level of stress that is hard to describe unless you've experienced it. One of the things that will keep you in that death spiral is if you keep a mindset that says, I'm a bad person because of this. You may have made bad financial decisions, but that doesn't make you a bad person. So you have to separate the situation you're in from what you say about yourself as a person. I made tremendous mistakes financially. That's why we were in the situation we were in. My husband made bad mistakes. That's why we were in the situation we were in. Also, most entrepreneurial ventures fail. And so when you just look at the numbers, if you're going to go play a big game, the odds are you're going to fail. It doesn't mean you're a failure. That's the separation that you want to make. And so the key to moving forward is using this moment where you hit rock bottom. Because when you hit rock bottom, an interesting thing happens. You hit something solid when you hit the ground, and you also come in touch with something solid within yourself. You access that by having a reckoning with yourself and saying, all right, what am I responsible for? What am I going to learn from this? And what behaviors am I going to change? And here's the good news. There is so much financial education out there. There is so much information. Just make a commitment to yourself that you are going to learn how to get out of debt. You're going to follow an expert in financial literacy and in getting out of debt. And you're going to do exactly what they say because you're clearly not an expert in it. And you are going to watch the behaviors that got you in trouble in the first place. And you're going to watch them like a shark, and you're going to interrupt them. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, use my 5-second rule to stop the behavior and redirect yourself and do absolutely everything that the experts tell you to do. Because you can get out of debt. You can save money. You can work 4 jobs if you have to. You can learn how to be responsible with money. And you're only going to do it if you use this moment as a way to have a reckoning with yourself, admit what you're responsible for, do the work to figure yourself out, and follow the advice of the experts. That's the way I did it. That's the way you're going to do it too. We bought into this complete falsehood that at some point you're going to have the courage. At some point you're going to have the confidence. And it's total. Frankly, are we allowed to swear on the show? Okay. It's complete garbage. And so there are so many people in the world, and you know, you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation. And that's not true. Because the way that our minds are wired, and the fact about human beings is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brains are designed to protect us from those things because our brains are trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, in order to be the best parent, the best spouse, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary, which sets up this problem for all of us. You're never going to feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy, right?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I know exactly why that is. Because I've studied this so much, because for me, one of the hardest things to figure out was, why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? And what I've come to realize, and what we'll talk a lot about today, is that the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you. And the way that this all happens is it all starts with something super subtle that none of us ever catch. And that is with this habit that all of us have that nobody's talking about. We all have a habit of hesitating. We have an idea. You're sitting in a meeting. You have this incredible idea. And instead of just, saying it, you stop and you hesitate. Now, what none of us realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. It wakes your brain up, and your brain all of a sudden goes, oh, wait a minute. Why is he hesitating? He didn't hesitate when he put on his killer spiky sneakers. He didn't hesitate with the really cool track pants. He didn't hesitate with the NASA t-shirt. Now he's hesitating to talk. Something must be up. So then your brain goes to work to protect you. It has a million different ways to protect you. One of them is called the spotlight effect. It's a known phenomenon where your brain magnifies risk. Why? To pull you away from something that it perceives to be a problem. And so you can truly trace every single problem or complaint in your life to silence and hesitation. Those are decisions. And what I do, and what's changed my life, is waking up and realizing that motivation's garbage. I'm never going to feel like doing the things that are tough or difficult or uncertain or scary or new. So I need to stop waiting until I feel like it. And number two, I am one decision away from a totally different marriage, a totally different life, a totally different job, a totally different income, a totally different relationship with my kids. Not like one decision, I'm divorcing you in the marriage example, but one decision on, you could be having a conversation with your spouse and you feel your emotions rise up, and within a tiny window, those emotions can take over and can impact how your marriage goes. Or you can learn how to take control of that micro moment and make a decision to act in a way that actually shifts your marriage. Right. Your life comes down to your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you will change everything. I mean, when I was 22, right after I graduated from Dartmouth, I was so focused on making everyone happy that I almost chose the worst possible career for my personality. It's not a bad career, it just would have been horrendous for me. I was interested in the environment, so I decided, I'll go get a law degree, and then I'll go work in Washington. And I think maybe I'll work on environmental policy, and I'd probably end up in some cube farm. And everyone was thrilled with the plan. Everyone, it turns out, but me. So here I am, I'm driving a U-Haul across country to go to law school and to get a degree in environmental law. And something started to gnaw at me. And with every single mile that I drove, my thoughts were getting louder and doubts were starting to pour in. My gut was telling me, Mel, turn the U-Haul around. But the problem was that everything was already in place, right? I mean, I'm already in the U-Haul. The thing is already packed. I'm already 10 miles into my drive. The tuition had been paid for the first semester. I had signed a lease. I mean, I could not undo these things. Isn't that why it's so difficult for you to make changes in your life? Because you think that things can't be undone? The fact is, any excuse that you come up with, you can undo. Tuition can be reimbursed, apartments can be leased, Plan B can be invented. So I got up, I repacked that U-Haul, and I drove out of town. I let myself make a U-turn in life. If you ever find your gut battling your head, save yourself the drama. I guarantee you your gut is right. Guarantee you your excuses can be undone. And I guarantee you you can make a U-turn in your life right now if you want. One night, Chris had gone to bed. I had been struggling. We still had all the same problems. We still had a lien on the house, still facing bankruptcy, still fighting like crazy. I was still unemployed. They still hadn't figured out like the solution yet for the business. And I was about to turn off the TV, and there on the TV, there was this rocket launching, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is it. I am gonna launch myself out of bed like a rocket ship, like NASA, right here, had launched me out of that bed. And I'm gonna move so fast that I don't think. I'm gonna beat my brain. Now, here's a really interesting point. I talk a lot about your instincts and inner wisdom. And we can get into this a little bit later, but a lot of us talk about the fact that you have a gut feeling. But what all this research that I've done for the book and all the speaking that I do, what I've discovered that's fascinating is actually when you set goals, when you have an intention on something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. What it does is it opens up a checklist, and then your brain goes to work trying to remind you of that intention that you set. And it's really important to develop the skill, and I say that word purposefully, the skill of knowing how to hear that inner wisdom and that intention kicking in and leaning into it quickly. So for me, my brain saying, that's it, right there, move as fast as a rocket, Mel. I wanted to change my life. And I think most people that are miserable or that are really like dying to be great and dying to have more, we want to change. We want to live a better life. We want to create more for our families. We want to be happier. The desire is there. Again, it's about how do you go from knowledge to action. So the first thing in this story that's important is realizing that the answer was in me. And my mind was telling me, pay attention. Could have also been the bourbon. I had a couple of Manhattans that night. But anyway, the next morning, the alarm goes off, and I pretended NASA was there. It's the stupidest story. I literally went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I counted out loud, and then I stood up. And I'll never forget standing there in my bedroom. It was dark. It was cold. It was winter in Boston. And for the first time in 3 months, I had beaten my habit of hitting the snooze button. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, wait a minute. Counting backwards? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Well, the next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. And then I started to notice something really interesting. There were moments all day long, just like that 5-second moment in bed, where I knew, knowledge, what I should do. And if I didn't move within 5 seconds, my brain would step in and talk me out of it. Every human being has a 5-second window. Might even be shorter for you. You have about a 5-second window in which you can move from idea to action before your brain kicks into full gear and sabotages any change in behavior. Because remember, your brain is wired to stop you from doing things that are uncomfortable or uncertain or scary. It's your job to learn how to move from those ideas that could change everything into acting on them.
What about when someone can't realize or identify their own negative feelings? Someone that has been conditioned to live in negative feelings and believes that that's normal. This question comes from Basso Anna Denegada.
It is your normal. You're right. It's a really, first of all, I'm sorry that that's been your experience of life, because that really stinks, and it doesn't have to be that way. But here's where I want you to go. What's interesting about what you said is the fact that these feelings are normal, okay? Normal just means you're used to them, but you don't have to live with them. So even though you're so used to these negative feelings and these feelings of doubt, you still don't like them. You still have the ability to stop that. So I want you to think of a moment in time when you were really happy. Like it could be a memory from being little, it could be something that you dream of doing. And I want you to come up with something really specific about that moment, okay? Like think about what you were wearing, or think about the blue sky. That is going to be what I call your anchor thought. Every time from this moment forward that you wake up or you find yourself drifting to those normal feelings of, I'm a loser, I'm worthless, I'm never going to find love. They may be things that you're used to thinking, but that doesn't matter, because you can change them. The second that you feel that, you've drifted over into that thought, and I keep coming over here because when you start using the rule, you're going to start to literally feel which part of your mind you're using. The worries kind of happen here. I want you to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I want you to insert this vision of yourself where you felt really good. And if you can't think of one, invent one. How would you feel if you were in love? How would you feel if you loved yourself? How would you feel if you did that thing that you're scared of, that you keep talking yourself out of? That's your anchor thought. Now, when you first start using the rule, particularly when you're breaking a habit of thinking negative thoughts, when you first start doing it, you may need to use the 5-second rule 73 times in one day. That's okay. I had to do it like that when I was first using the rule to cure myself of anxiety. When I would start to worry about anything, I'd start to worry about, my kids, or I'd start to worry about money, and I'd feel my thoughts drift, and then I'd start to feel my heart race. I would stabilize my thoughts, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'd activate my prefrontal cortex, lower the worries, on the other side, and then I would start to think about something that actually made me feel really calm or excited. That is the battle of your mind. And the other thing about normal that I just want to say is that the reason why it feels normal to doubt yourself and to have low self-worth is because you've thought this so long. It's become a pattern, just like chewing your nails becomes a pattern of behavior that you don't think about. Well, the cool thing is that based on science, you can actually change any pattern, even a thinking one. So use the 5-second rule. Every single time you catch yourself thinking the nasty stuff, and then activate your prefrontal cortex and force yourself to think something positive.
Every single morning, Monday through Fridays at 9 a.m., I host a live call-in radio show on Sirius Satellite Radio. It's called Make It Happen with Mel Robbins. And the thing that's been so crazy about that show is every single person that calls me on that show, they call in because they're feeling stuck in their lives, and they're resigned about their ability to change their lives. And I'm not talking about people that are nuts. I'm talking about successful people like you and me that just somehow got stuck in their lives. And I'm not talking about people that are looking for cheesy self-help. I'm talking about people that really want to figure out how to move themselves forward. And I find that so many of us think that our dreams are unreachable or unrealistic, and it's just so sad. I mean, people think that their dreams disappear. And if that's what you think, congratulations, you're officially stuck. And the truth is that our dreams are always there, and they don't ever give up on us. We give up on them. But here's the secret. If you just force yourself, and I mean force, because I know well none of you want to do anything about this, and I also know you're sitting there like, yeah, this self-help crap, this isn't for me. But if you just force yourself to take a couple small steps, there's always a surprise. There's always a surprise waiting if you take a step off the porch. So let's talk about Starbucks. Starbucks in 2008, very interesting thing happened, and many of you, if you were in the financial services market then, probably know this, that their net income decreased by about 28% that year. And at the time, they had 16,000 stores in 44 countries, and they had gone through this massive, explosive growth segment in terms of going public in, I think it was like 1992, they only had 125 stores, and now here we are, 2008, they've got 16,000. So what ends up happening is Howard Schultz, who was the chairman of the board, comes back in as the CEO. Very complex situation, right? You've got operations in 44 countries. You've got massive reduction in terms of the profits that you have. You've got the stock market and Wall Street screaming at you. You've got customers that are going to Dunkin' Donuts because there's a recession that's hitting. So what do? Well, he was very clear, again, back to the 2 rules. What do I stand for? Like, what am I doing? And what do I want the outcome to be? So he was very clear that what he stood for as a leader and what Starbucks should stand for is the Starbucks experience. He wanted to go back to the beginning and reintroduce people to the romance of having a cup of coffee. Because that's how Starbucks launched in the beginning, that he was traveling and was over in Italy and was like, God, why don't we have places like these great stops to have a little cup of coffee over in the United States? Boom, Starbucks, an idea, it's born, it's launched. So he decides he's gonna do whatever he can to get the romance of having a cup of coffee back. In life, in any situation, whether you're talking about growing your company, growing your bank account, getting in a relationship, getting out of a relationship, getting something done at the school system that your kids are going to on behalf of your kids, whatever it is that you're up to in life, this is the only question that you need to ask yourself. Well, what is it that I want? Because the truth of the matter is, if you can answer that, you can have it. So if it were easy to get what you wanted in life, Google would have already figured out an app. You would just type in, okay, I'm a student and I want to go from being a student to being successful. And Google would tell you, go to college, then you get your master's, then you land this killer job, and then you put in a bunch of FaceTime while you're checking Facebook. Then you get promoted to manager, and then you realize managing people kind of stinks, and then you keep climbing the corporate ladder. And then you start to wonder, well, how did I end up here? And then you went, well, is this what success looks like? You're like, no, I'm going to go to Jay Hilburn. That's what success looks like. So keep this in mind. If there's something that you want, like 7 people, or a trip to Africa, or you're going to make it to Mexico in the pink shirt, I'm looking at you again, sorry. I'm watching you. And rooting for you. Keep in mind this. Here you are. This is what you want. I spend a lot of time on lacrosse fields, although they don't really look like this. You tend to think that what you want, you just march right towards it. But if in sports you march right towards the goal, what happens? The defenders come in. And what the defenders are is it's your brain saying, ain't gonna happen. So the second you start moving toward that thing you want, be ready. You're gonna tell yourself you don't feel like it. You're gonna have to force yourself. It's happening. There's no way to get around it. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna basically get bounced around a lot. All over the place. And there are going to be a lot of times that you feel like this was a really dumb idea to start this business because it's going to get hard. And I want to remind you about something. Unlike a sports field where there's an in and out of bounds, the great thing about life is there actually aren't any. And it's usually in those moments where you feel like you can't do it that you're closer than ever to having everything that you wanted. And I wanted to show you this so that you keep it in mind, because I think a lot of times when you look back, it's the darkest moments where you realize that's what projected me forward. We live in the most amazing moment in time. So that thing that you have up here, whatever it may be, you want to use healthy eating to cure your diabetes, you want to figure out how to take care of the elders and start a new hospice center, you want to move to Africa and build a school, guess what? You could walk into a bookstore right now and buy at least 10 books written by credentialed experts on how the hell you do it. You could Google it, and you could probably find at least, 1,000 blogs documenting the step-by-step transformation that somebody else is already doing. You can find anybody online and cyberstalk them. You can just walk in their footsteps and let them, just use the science of drafting. Follow what everyone else has done, because somebody else is already doing it. So why don't you have what you want? When you have all the information that you need, you have the contacts that you need, there are probably free tools online that allow you to start a business or join a group or do whatever the heck you want. It all comes down to one word. Shut the front door, you know what I'm talking about? The F-bomb. It's everywhere. You hear it all the time, and I honestly don't understand what the appeal is of the word. I mean, you don't sound smart when you say it. And it's really not expressing how you really feel. It's sort of a cheap, shot to take. And of course, I'm talking about the word fine. How you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, really? You are? Dragging around those extra 40 pounds? You're fine? Feeling like roommates with your spouse? And you're fine? You haven't had sex in 4 months? You're fine? Really? I don't think so. But see, here's the deal with saying that you're fine. It's actually genius. Because if you're fine, you don't have to do anything about it. But when you think about this word fine, it just makes me so angry. I mean, here we are at a conference about being alive, and you're going to describe the experience of being alive as fine? What a flimsy and feeble word. If you're crappy, say you're crappy. If you're amazing, say you're amazing. Tell the truth. And this not only goes for the social construct, I don't want to burden you with the fact that I hate my life, or, hey, I'm amazing, but that would make you feel terrible. The bigger issue with fine is that you say it to yourself. That thing that you want, I guarantee you, you've convinced yourself that you're fine not having it. That's why you're not pushing yourself. It's the areas in your life where you've given up, where you've said, oh, I'm fine. My mom's never going to change, so I just can't have that conversation. I'm fine. We got to wait until the kids graduate before we get divorced, so we'll just sleep in separate bedrooms. I'm fine. I lost my job. I can barely pay my bills, but whatever. It's hard to get a job. And, one of the reasons why this word also just annoys me so much is scientists have calculated, oh yeah, I'm coming down. Scientists have calculated the odds of you being born. That's right. They've crunched the numbers. I see you up there. They have crunched the numbers on you. Yeah, no, you guys standing up, you want to sit down for this. They've crunched the numbers on you being born. And they took into account all of the wars and the natural disasters and the dinosaurs and everything else. And do you realize that the odds of you, yeah, right here, put your computer away, stand up for me, Doug. So the odds of Doug here, turn around, say hi to everybody. The odds, of Doug being born at the moment in time he was born, to the parents you were born to, with the DNA structure that you have, 1 in 400 trillion. Isn't that amazing?
I'm so lucky.
Yes. You're not fine, you're fantastic. You have life-changing ideas for a reason, and it's not to torture yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. And Christine was right when she said all of you could be on stage, because all of you, we're all in this category. 1 in 400 trillion. All day long, you have ideas that could change your life, that could change the world, that could change the way that you feel. And what do you do with them? I have a pad of Post-it notes. Yes, Post-it notes next to my sink in my bathroom. Why? Well, because after I brush my teeth, haven't looked at my phone yet, I take a Post-it note out and I write the 3 things I need to focus on today. And then you know what I do with it? I stick it on the back of my phone. Now, why would I do that? Because I have my phone with me all the time. And so if it's on the back of my phone, I'm going to get a visual cue to remind me and keep it top of mind so I stay focused on it. How is it that you see something larger for yourself? Well, the first thing that you have to do, the very first thing, is you have to get out of the weeds. Successful people are all in the weeds. The busier you are, the more you have going on. You know that old saying that everybody says, don't work in your business, work on your business? But we are all in the weeds. And the key to seeing something larger for yourself is getting out of the weeds. I mean, don't you feel like this dude? I know I do. You know, you wake up, brush your teeth, make the coffee, feed the kids, pack the lunches, put them on the bus, get in the car, text your friends, get some coffee, arrive at work, feign interest, answer emails, update Facebook, make cold calls, avoid the meeting, look busy, crunch some numbers, update Facebook, get in the car, go to carpool, feed your kids, feed the dog, check email, update Facebook, kiss your husband, climb into bed, fool around. Are you kidding? I'm exhausted. Turn off the lights. I mean, I live in a two-household, thank you, entrepreneurial family. I'm exhausted. I'm busy. How the heck am I going to see something larger from my life when I have a business to run, when I have kids to take care of? Well, you have to get out of the weeds. And, you know, the truth is there's some good news. And the good news is I heard about this pill that's in development. Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for it too. And you know, the problem though is I think that they're going to have naming problems. Forget it all. It seems like a kind of a bad name for a pill, even though I might take it now and again. So I thought before we jump into how you see something larger, I need to yank you out of the weeds first. So I'm going to give you my advice for what I do in order to keep myself out of the weeds. And you guys don't need remedial personal development. I got that. I just feel obligated to give you some actionable things to do. Because if you don't plan your week out before the week starts, you're going to be in reactive mode. You're going to be running around. You're going to be chasing down the biggest thing that's happening in your life. You're going to be constantly responding. This is one of the most important things that you can do. If you're not married, if you're not living with somebody, do it for yourself. Plan your week. You know this already. The first thing that you need to do is you define what success looks like for you. And it's not $10 million in the bank. I'm sorry. It needs to be something bigger, a bigger purpose.
What if somebody says it is $10 million in the bank to me?
Well, you know, I mean, the problem with saying it's $10 million in the bank is that when you finally get to the $10 million, typically those people feel pretty bankrupt because
that's what you're seeing, and that's what you're seeing in your work
absolutely,
also. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, you know, once you define it for yourself, I think the key is how do you then trick yourself, Donnie, into feeling successful every single day? You know, I've got a daughter that plays lacrosse. She's 9 years old. If I said to her, I'm only cheering for you when you score a goal, how do you think she'd feel during the game? She wouldn't play very well, that's for sure. So you've got to figure out how do you cheer for yourself and how do you feel successful while you're playing the game? Because it's not all about the goal.
Okay, are there any tools to cheer for myself? Give me today. I want to feel better inside. I'm at home. I'm watching. I'm either somebody that's got the millions of dollars and it's not feeling good, or I don't have those millions of dollars and it's not feeling good. All right, and I'm worried about the economy around me. And so give me the cheering section.
What you need to do. What you need to do is you have to decide, okay, this is where I'm going. I'm going for the big vision of what success is. Now do a head fake with yourself and say, okay, let's just say that I'm actually already there. I have the $10 million in the bank. I'm, you know, saving the world, whatever it is that your version of success is. What are 3 things that I would change about this day, today? How would I live it today if I already had all that stuff? What time would I wake up? Who's my first phone call to? What did I eat for breakfast? Start living as that success vision now. Drive. That's this puppy right here. This is what you want. This is your prefrontal cortex. Drive is the mode where you're in charge of your thoughts. Okay? It's where you are fully awake, you are present, and you are driving your thoughts and actions. When you're doing that, your prefrontal cortex is active. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that you need in order to learn new behavior, in order to do something difficult, in order to do something uncertain, in order to do strategic thinking. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm a righty. If I were to try to write with my left hand, Lewis is going to torture me and tie my hand behind my back and make me do this, I could do it. It would look like I was writing with my foot. And if Lewis came up to me and said, hey, Mel, you want some bulletproof coffee? I'd be like, Lewis, I'm trying to concentrate. I can't do this. My prefrontal cortex would be el fuego because it is firing on all cylinders to communicate to my hand new behavior. So the thing that's cool about that is that you can use a simple trick
The moment you feel yourself hesitate, the moment you've got one of those moments where you know that you need to, this is that moment that Lewis talks to you about where you got to step outside of your comfort zone and you've got to lean into your passion and you've got to really take some risks and you got to feel the fear and you got to do it anyway. That's the moment where you just woke up and now you got a decision to make. Are you going to drift back into the habits, or are you going to awaken your prefrontal cortex and drive forward and focus and do something new?
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Mel Robbins, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
The journey of your whole life is figuring out how to truly like and love yourself. Sometimes when the dream is so big